California dreaming. Ba-na-na-na, I'm pumped for the weekend.
Is that how it goes?
No, I just made that
That
up,
was pretty
actually.
good.
Yeah, I thought about it right before we pressed record, and I found two words that rhyme pretty well, so I went for it.
Wow. Honestly, I thought that's how the song
Yeah,
went.
give me some writing credits. What is that? The Beach Boys? Who is that? Jim? Beach Boys? I don't know.
California Dreamin'?
Doesn't matter.
I feel like it's just
The
not
Beatles?
the Beach Boys at all.
It got to be the Beatles or the Beach
You
Boys.
don't
I'm
even
not
have
sure.
shades on though. What's going on?
Yeah, I didn't procure a pair. I probably should have thought about that. Oh
All
well.
right.
Oh well. Oh well.
Only one of us can be cool. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. You gotta try your darndest, that's for sure. But let's. How we doing, folks? How we doing? Great to have you back. It's another beautiful Friday out of the Hall of Fame city, Canton, Ohio. I even got the logo on today, folks.
Hall of Fame City.
Hall of Fame City.
There's
Canton,
not much
Ohio.
else that goes on here, but there is the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, if you want to come and I don't know,
NDT.
waste $40, whatever it costs to get in there. No, I'm kidding. It's an all right place. I was there a couple weekends ago with some family. It's a good time.
Really? You went there?
Yeah, so they're doing some revamping. As you've seen, all that construction over there. They bought a ton of land, bought out some houses. I believe they're kind of hoping the sports gambling gets passed here in Ohio here shortly.
I hope so too.
I believe they're putting in a sports book. They kind of revamped the Hall of Fame a little bit. They have some interactive stuff down there. It's a pretty good time.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to pass. I like to partake a little bit, but the odds of winning are very, very slim.
Yeah, I lose a lot.
Me too. I'm actually up about $150 total in all my bets, which is really good. But that's not very much money.
Yeah, I'm not in a good place. But let's what do we got this week, T? We got so we were saying California Dream, and I wanted to segue it in there. We kind of got off on a tangent to start there, but California Dreaming, because we're headed out to California. We're headed out to California for Bobby Leviton. Bob Leviton.
Yep, Bob Leviton. You wouldn't necessarily call him a new driver, but he's newer compared to some of the interviews we've had with our drivers. And just because you're new doesn't mean you're not one of the best, and he's a great example of that.
Yeah, for sure. He's also got his wife out there, Catherine, who they operate both on the platform pretty frequently here and there. And I mean, they're right in the heart of it, right? They're right in downtown LA, pretty much helping us out with Easy Cater, helping us out with Tokaya. We got some pretty steady partners out there keeping the ebbs and flows going. So. I mean, we touched on a lot of stuff. Bob has some previous marketing experience. He used to work on some television shows back in the day. I know we touched on that in the interview a little bit, his past experiences. And then he brings a ton of stuff to the table, right? He shows kind of he's a tips and tricks guy, I would say for sure.
He's a prepared person.
Yeah. I think he shows us a ton of stuff in the interview as well that he kind of utilizes during his day. So that'll be a good one for the viewers, a good one for the drivers, a good one for the prospective drivers as well. Maybe show what a successful driver can look like.
Yep, so I'm excited to get to know Bob, and after that, we have a little meet the team with Kody Staskey, our business development guy.
Right, yeah. So we're getting into 2019, I believe. I think Cody's the first 2019 hiree. Obviously, he was brought on, like you said, for the restaurant relations, the partner side of things. He's kind of our contracts guy, wheeling and dealing out there with the stores, with the restaurants, trying to get new business generated for you drivers, get you some more deliveries.
But he's a Steelers fan. That's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great. It definitely hurts morale come, the end of, I'd say, I guess the beginning
Changes
of winter.
who you are, actually.
Like November, December, when we're coming to playoff times.
Yeah.
The Browns Steelers are always ending the year, kind of trying to get in the playoffs. And there's a lot of butting of heads, I would say, towards that time of year.
Yeah. Honestly, I forgive him after the season's over for a few weeks, but once it starts up again, it's game on.
Yeah, and realistically, the Steelers, I think they're going down, and hopefully the Browns are just going up.
Yeah, I mean the Browns have went up quite a bit with their first year. Anyways, all right, guys, let's get into this stuff. We're just like turn into a sports podcast.
I'll talk sports all day, baby. But yeah, we got Bob Leviton, we got Kody in the books. Let's get into it, right?
All right, I'm excited. See you there.
All right, we are back with the newest guest on the Delivering More podcast. This week we have Bob from Los Angeles. Bob, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
So glad to be here. Very excited about this.
Awesome. Yeah. It's you've been you kind of stormed on the platform as of late. You became a a mainstay out there in Los Angeles here over the past year, the COVID year, I would say. So we appreciate all the time and work you put in.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, actually just started last fall. So it's August, September. So it's been a good run. And obviously fourth quarter, anyone who drives for the platform knows is like the best
Right.
time. And then you hit first quarter and things aren't quite so good, but they've picked up again, and it looks like we're back into a nice steady rhythm.
Yeah, it should be a good year. But Bob, what obviously you're delivering here with us now, but what about you? What'd you do before this,
So yeah, I mean, I've seen other podcasts, and you've got people with very interesting backgrounds. Mine's kind of unique. I actually started out as a television talk show producer here in Los Angeles. I did that for about 15
That's
years.
amazing.
A lot of shows that you might know, your parents might know, and then there are some shows that probably only the immediate families of the cast and crew would probably have ever heard of. Good Morning America, I was an entertainment producer with them for a couple of years. That's one that's still on. And and I was telling Ben, this is interesting. I conducted, not on camera, but as a producer, thousands of interviews. It's the first time I've actually been interviewed. So interesting to have that.
Wow.
Have the tables turned.
Turn the tables a little bit on you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I did that for many years, and then switched over the kind of shows that I worked on, which were more celebrities and cooking and fashion, and probably similar to what Kelly and Ryan are doing, sort of multi-segment. And those shows kind of went away and were replaced by Maury Povich, who I understand is just retiring after 30 years.
Yeah, he just
Jerry
called it
Springer,
quits.
I used to say horrible people doing horrible things to other horrible people, and I didn't want to do that. And so I had a friend who I had worked with on talk shows who also had some success in, interestingly, infomercials. And I came, I'm a writer. I came from a business background. He thought I would do well, and at the time, I joked that infomercials seemed like a step up from certainly the kind of talk shows that were being produced. So I did that. The first show I wrote and produced made $50 million in the first year.
Wow.
And what was great is, on TV, the ratings don't really change all that much. And I was saying, unless someone called in for the cheesecake recipe, you don't really get a lot of feedback. But with the, we call it direct response or direct to consumer advertising, immediately if you're doing well, because each show has a unique phone number. People call in and you can say, this is working, this isn't working. And it was exciting. And it was nice to see a tangible result to the work that I was doing. So I did that also for another 15 years, switch into digital marketing. And then right before COVID, the company that I was working with, they sold off part of the company that I was involved with, and I was out of work. So I did some consulting, but still looking, keep busy. And my son had driven for Postmates. I'd actually taken him around on some, and I thought, you know what, I can do that. Fill
easy
time,
enough.
get a little extra money, and so I started doing that, and I started doing quite well. I added the other three at the time, Uber Eats, Grubhub, and DoorDash. And, I was doing 20, 30 orders a day and really, keeping very, very busy. And then, then I found you guys. And so I do less of that. But, and one of the things I wanted to talk about, and I was sharing with Ben, is, I did, as a marketer, I really approached the business from that perspective in terms of how can I be as successful as possible, and then obviously that also translates to making the most money, of course, right? And so it was interesting in that this type of delivery service is we're fortunate because people already have a predisposition to tipping for food service. Your Amazon guy, your FedEx guy, you don't tip them. Your mailman probably does more than anyone.
Maybe give him a Christmas
maybe at
present.
Christmas time. So, I approached it from that perspective and said, what can I do to draw attention to myself? Just like I'd be marketing a product, what can I do to make myself special? And so, it really comes down to connecting with the customer. When you're in a restaurant, you have a face-to-face connection. 95% of drivers probably have no communication with their customers at all. And then with COVID, you don't even have a chance for a face-to-face meeting. So with Postmates, I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you guys drove. I don't know if you drove for that platform or others, but at the time they were the only ones that had customers tipping after the order. All the others you pre-tip.
Oh yeah, after the
So
experience.
while a lot of people saw that as a problem, you could be taking a $3 order and making $3, or you could make 15. You just don't know.
Right.
I saw it as an opportunity because the tip was still in play, if you will. So I created some strategies to be able to connect with the customer and to be able to build a relationship that would allow me to get more tips.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because like you said, a lot of people do look at that as a negative, because some of the partners that we work with, they do that same thing. You might take a receipt to the drop off for the customer to sign in the gratuity and whatnot. And I think largely, I would say over 90% of drivers believe that's actually more of a negative than having a pre-tip, because you're guaranteed. But that is an interesting approach, and I'm glad to get this out to them.
It's a good perspective.
I will tell you what I did, and I love the platform to share it, because I like to help people. I like to share what I learned, and I've really not, other than a few drivers that I've met. So again, it's about them knowing who you are. Otherwise you're just someone on an app. So every delivery I would make, I would reach out to the customer. I would introduce myself. I would use their name. I would say, "Hi, Mary, this is Bob with Postmates, just letting you know." And this is the difference. I said, "Just letting you know, I'm on the way to the restaurant. While I'm there, is there anything extra I can get for you? Plates, napkins, sealed utensils, any extra condiments or sauces for your order? Just let me know." And that was the difference. People,
wow.
Some didn't respond. People go, "That's amazing. Oh my God, you're awesome. No, I don't need anything, but thanks anyway."
Mm-hmm.
Or, "Hey, wow, yeah, can you pick up a couple extra ranch dressing? That'd be so great." Boom. Now you've got them. My tips were, quite honestly, through the roof. I was so pleased. Not everyone, but I knew that I was getting more, and I could tell just based on the reaction from the people that they were into it. And then when Postmates went away, Uber Eats is sort of the next one, because you tip in advance, but they give the customer an hour to change their tip,
to adjust it.
And
I actually didn't know that.
I would say, yeah,
That's pretty
80% of the deliveries I make, I get over tipped, and it's usually 50 to 100% more than what they had originally. So at first I was, every time, into my phone, "Hey, I'm on my way, blah, blah, blah." And then I got smart. So I use now Apple, and I think Androids have it too, a text replacement feature, where I can just type in a couple of buttons, and it spits out the whole thing. All I need to do is put in the person's name, "Hi, Mary," and then the rest, "Hi, this is Bob, whatever service." And then I'd also customize it. So if it was a Chinese restaurant, it would say, "Can I get you extra chopsticks or soy sauce?" If it's a Mexican
fortune cookies,
extra salsa. What kind would you like? Pizza, grated cheese, or pepper flakes. And then I would also, when I got the order, I would say, "I'm on my way. Here's when I'm going to be there." If I had another delivery and I was multi-apping, we can talk about that. Sometimes I would have other orders. I would say, "I've got another order, but I'll be, I'll let you know when I'm on my way, and thank you for your patience, and I'll promise to keep your food hot." And people ate it up, mainly because no one was doing it. And I'll let you jump in. When I started doing it, and this is how I knew that I was onto something, probably 3 days in, I make a delivery. The customer comes up to the car, hands me a $50 bill, and says, "I've been getting food delivery for years. Nobody has ever done this."
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, talk about, doing more than you're asked, but also I think the surprise factor for the customer that, like they said, they've been getting food.
So like willing to go the extra mile.
Yeah. Like they never get that. So like that surprise factor almost encourages them to, offer a better gratuity, because the service was just never seen before, ever.
And this is Bob. We actually talked about this off camera on camera for us, but off camera for the audience. But the law of reciprocity, right? And like you were talking about how if you basically do something for someone, they almost automatically feel obligated to do something in return for you. So like, and we were talking about how like, even if they're not expecting that, they, they almost immediately feel obligated to do something in return, whether they immediately asked you to do something or you just reached out beforehand. Like he said, he's reaching out beforehand. They're not expecting it, but because he made that extra effort, now they're like, oh, well, maybe since he did something for me, I should do something for him. And it just kind of snowballs into those 50%, 100%
I think when people
tips.
pre-tip, or you think, they've got a base number in their mind. I'm a 15% tipper, I'm an 18% tipper, but that's baseline. And if you're in a restaurant, same thing. If the server goes out of their way to do something above and beyond what you would have expected, you're going to tip them more. And it's the same idea. And that's exactly right. But what you said, and the interesting part of that law is that whether they asked for it or not, you still did something for them.
Right.
And this, and it's not, this is more than just a smiley face on a Post-it or, texting them, thank you for your order. This is you actively offering to do something above and beyond. And it really has trickled down. And now the other apps where you're pre-tip, you're not going to get more money. But, I do it just as a practice now.
As a standard.
Because it's the right thing to do. It's good for the customers. And also, I've got an Uber Eats, a 4.99 rating. My DoorDash rating is close to 5, so it also allows that if you screw up sometimes, you've got a little pad there because they can see that the customers love you and that you've gotten good ratings and great comments. So it's, I was telling Bennett, there's the book all about what they call ethical influence, things you can do that are not tricky, not devious, but are but just simply take advantage of a situation that is presented to you. In this case, you have the ability to contact the customer. Most people just never think of doing it, and that's sort of how that whole thing.
Yeah. And Bob, I want to tell the listeners, because some of your stats, we have some of your stats here, and I think they're kind of crazy for the short amount of time. So we have just your stats from October 2021 to December 2021. So what is that? 2-3 months?
We were talking about all his other platforms. This is solely on the Deliver That platform.
This is
obviously.
just Deliver That. So this is what, 2-3 months, if I'm correct.
October, November, December, 3 months. Yep.
240 total deliveries, which is isn't that the platinum bonus, or is that 250?
I was actually very fortunate that my first full quarter, which was last quarter of last year, I did get to the platinum level. I got the bonus, the swag, and I'm still waiting for the personal handwritten letter from your CEO. But I'm sure
we'll put a word in.
I'm sure he's thinking about what he wants to say, and maybe after I call him out, it will become a strongly worded message. But
we're gonna clip it and send it to him.
Yeah, we'll let him know. We'll let him know you're on the lookout.
Hopefully, he has a sense of humor about it. But no, I know he's busy, and it's you guys are great, and it's wonderful that you have those types of incentives to kind of when I was checking right at the end, am I close? Am I there? And I think I got to like 204 for the quarter. But that was a fun time.
We have 240 from October to December, and then that's 111,000 total food delivered, which is, we've had drivers deliver all year and not do that much. You know what I mean? Like that's some commitment right there.
Yeah.
It is busy out there in your area too, which helps a lot. So
and there's also a way, things that I do to help facilitate that as well. I know that there are different levels, and some drivers see orders earlier, but I work it. I treat it like a business. It drives my wife, who also drives, not as much as I do. It drives her crazy with the ding, ding, dings going on off all the time. But I always have a phone in front of me, and I'll talk a little later if we have time about some of the things that I do and some of the little gadgets and stuff that I do. But essentially, it was an interesting switch, because with the other services, they give you an order, you've got a minute or so to decide whether you want it. But with you gotta, it's on demand, you gotta be there. And so you've got to have that app in your face. The worst thing is, you're watching it for hours, and then you decide to, go look at an email, and bam, something comes in, you get back and it's gone.
Yeah.
So, one of the things, and I'll talk about it more, but I have 3 phones that that I use.
Oh my.
Which seems excessive and expensive, but it actually doesn't have to be, and I'll tell you why. So one of them in the car I use exclusively for GPS, because again, the worst thing is, because you're driving, that's always going to be on, and if an order comes in, you got to switch. So that's that. I have a second phone that I use. That's just my Deliver That phone. It's always on that platform. It's always in my face, in the car, at home. I've got the strap. I have it around my neck. So if I'm walking around the house,
that's dedication.
It's always there. Yeah. So so if and then the third one is just whatever I use for the phone. But what was interesting, I'm with T-Mobile. I called them up. A lot of phone companies have these promotions. They said add an extra line and you can get a phone for free. So I got the cheapest phone. Again, all it needs to do is one thing. In my case, it was $25 a month, and that's one order. You pick up one order that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. That covers that. And then for the third phone, I found. I mean, I think we all have phones in our drawer, old phones that we don't use anymore, right? That we haven't done. So I just pulled one up, and I used my GPS phone as a hotspot. And so I don't even have to pay for the service. So that's free. So for $20 a month, I'm basically running an extra phone, and that lets me do what I need to do.
I mean, that's a great tip. We did talk to, I don't know if you watched the Tanya and Dave interview. They're just San Jose is north.
Oh, are those the ones who travel around the country?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, they mentioned they have two providers. They use Verizon and AT&T. So they might be spending a little more than you are, but anything you can do, I think, with the phones, especially like you said, when you're trying to fight for deliveries, is a huge thing to make note of.
Yeah,
absolutely. Let me talk about some of the things that I learned from when I started with Deliver That I didn't know necessarily.
Let's get into the time with Deliver That. Let's do it.
Yeah. So again, Holley did a great job of onboarding.
She's actually producer in the building today. Jim's out of town.
By the way, I will say, you guys are great. I mean, everyone I've spoken to, just so professional, so kind, so courteous. I would like to give a special shout out to Erica, only because she works the late shift. So being in LA, I end up talking with her more than anyone. And she's just so helpful, not only on problems or issues with deliveries, but also just questions about the platform as well. So anyway, everyone's great. I couldn't mention, like an Academy Award, I can't mention everyone by name, but anyway,
I bet you could run down the employee list if you had to. You could probably name
I could probably name 10 or 15.
That's about a chunk of them.
Exactly. So here's sort of things I learned after. First of all, almost for a different reason. As I said before, I call every customer before. Certainly ones that I have where I haven't delivered before. Again, I says, Bob, deliver that catering. I'll be delivering your whatever order. Is there any information that you can give me about parking or unloading that will help me get food to you faster? So I'm making it a benefit for them, obviously,
of course,
as well as for me. And that's been hugely helpful. One of we could talk about sort of pet peeves is a lot of times complete information isn't in the app, either because they don't give it,
100%.
Sometimes it's not transferred. And it's probably one thing I would, ask for EasyCater or you guys to ask is to put something when the customer places an order where it says, is there any specific information for parking or unloading? Because I deliver in downtown LA a lot, big buildings, a lot of security. Some you can't go through the lobby, you have to go to loading docks, the back and around. And if you don't have that when you arrive, you're delaying yourself, 10, 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
So always reach out. A small thing, and probably a lot of drivers, is I call it catch and release. I accept every order, and then immediately, then I'll look at it, and if it's not for me, I'll release it immediately. Not only does it keep my reflexes fast, but it stops, every time someone drops it from dinging and dinging and dinging and dinging again.
Right. That's a very good point.
Then you're rushing there. Oh, I already saw that order. Oh, no, someone already dropped it.
Right.
So that's a big one. The other thing which we talked about a little bit earlier, and I know other drivers have discussed, is the having other being getting friendly with other drivers, and getting to know other drivers. A lot of the tips that I got came from them, but it's also wonderful. I can again share orders with them. If I have a problem at the last minute where I would need to drop an order and it's within the time window, I can say, "Hey, are you around? Are you able to do this?" And I can transfer it over. I think one of the coolest things that you guys do is allow us the ability to shift orders between drivers, and it's been huge. And I have a little posse of people who I've met on the road, some of whom, kind of karma. I met one guy who helped me with my bags of the car. He said, "Oh, who do you work for?" I told him. And 3 weeks later, I ran into him. He says, "Oh, I started the platform. It's so wonderful." And great. I had another driver who was waiting, deliver that driver who was waiting for an order. And mine I would have required a couple trips. He said, "Here, let me, help you to the car. Fine. What's your name?" "Great. You know what? I'm going to send you orders too." So, at the end of the day, not every day, they'll say, "Hey, Bob, you got anything on the west side? You got anything over here? Or let me check." And then we do that. So that building that network has been great. I saw we all see on the bottom it says that little link for gratuity. I didn't know that you could get an extra tip or how that would work. And there's it obviously applies mostly to partner orders. And I would see a lot out here. Takaya Organica is big. I don't know. I don't know if that's a national chain or not. And
Yeah, they're a West Coast brand.
yeah, and so those are great because you get a little bit more for the delivery fee, and any tip goes directly to you. But the downside is sometimes customers don't leave a tip, and I would
Yeah.
not, gravitate towards those no tip orders. But then a driver said, "You know what? If you get the invoice from the restaurant, there's actually a part on there where it says gratuity, and if you get them to sign that, you can get them." So I said, "Great," and I've tried it, and I've gotten, I'd say 80% of those that I do add a tip, nothing less than 20, and I've gotten as much as $200 added.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was blew me away. So
That's good information because a lot of drivers will, like like you said, gravitate away from doing those because it's just not guaranteed. So
yeah, and I said, you need to approach it. If you just say, "Here, can you sign this?" A lot of people, they'll just sign it and not do it. So what I suggest to them is I say, "Can you total up this order and sign off on it?" By saying total up
language
implies that they've got to put a number in, and they're going to see if they're not leaving a tip or not. And
it's pretty slick. It's pretty slick.
Yeah, no, I mean that's
again, it's
I think that's great advice.
Things that kind of push people in the right direction. And then the other thing I learned was that on Easy Cater orders, certainly large ones, maybe over 1,000, you can reach in you guys and say, "Hey, is there any additional incentive that you can get for me?" It's wonderful. I wish I knew the person who did it, but I wrote in and said, "Hey, this is like a $1,500 order. Can I get an extra $35? He comes back. He says, "I got you 50." That's great.
Wow. Yeah, I'll take credit for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was me. It was me.
Yeah. It was, everybody raises their hand. And I want to say, you guys say you're a company about drivers, and it's not just a tagline in your mission statement. I mean, you guys really do deliver on that, and that, as a driver, and I probably speak for others as well, we really appreciate that. So that's important.
We appreciate that statement because we hear both sides of it.
That will be a clip.
Yeah, we'll clip that.
Yeah.
So that's
a great foundation.
Yeah, we appreciate that, obviously, but that's a lot of driving, I must say, too, Bob. Obviously, you're not just doing Deliver That; you're doing other platforms. I'm sure some of your deliveries go pretty far, and I'm curious, what makes you still go out there and drive every day? What do you enjoy about delivering, not just on our platform, but in general?
That's an interesting question. I do enjoy driving, and I don't know how you could do this and not.
Yeah.
I'm a people person. I like being out there. I worked in corporate America for 30 years, and certainly the last part. And I've had opportunities to go back into a more of that type of workplace, and I get the chills. It's just the idea of going to do that again is after having had sort of the freedom and the ability to do what I enjoy when I
to be
want
your
to
own
do it.
boss.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not making the same amount of money as when I was a senior vice president of marketing, but
Yeah.
at this point, and I'm probably one of your more senior in terms of age drivers. Quality of life is important too, and
Right.
my father actually ran a limo company, so maybe driving is in my blood.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
That
That's
makes
very
sense.
true. That makes a lot of sense. That's nice.
Wow.
Um, Couple things, if I may. When I started, I again approaching it very strategically. One of the first things I wanted to do was eliminate those things that were repetitive actions that if they could be done more streamlined. So, for
Right.
example, I mentioned I did 20 to 30 deliveries a day when I was doing the other services, and that means you're getting in and out of your car 100 times a day. If you think about it, you're putting the key in, you're taking it out, you're putting it in your pocket. So one of the first things, because I had an old, now I drive a Prius, but at the time it was a keyed ignition. I got this so that I could just, well, it was a key on the end at the time. I could just put the key in, and then when I get out, I just take it out and drop it, and it's there. And fumbling, my hands were getting chafed from having to reach into my pocket 100 times a day to
Wow.
get and even with the new cars that open automatically, you still have to hit the button to lock it,
Right.
and it's right there. So that's one thing that I did. The phone holder we talked about, just so that it's always there in front of me. I've got this I like. So one of the whoops, my mic just fell. Sorry. One of the problems initially was you had every time I got in the car, you had to plug your phone in again, right?
Oh, yeah, like a
And
hands-free
again,
charger.
my mic is falling, so I apologize. There. So if you can see this is something it attaches to the regular thing that sticks to your car. But what it does, hold on one second, is you put your phone in and it actually grabs it. I don't know if you can see it. It goes out,
Yeah.
and then it puts it, and then when you want to take it out, it just releases automatically. So that alone, the ability to just kind of stick it and go, pull it and go, and not have to put was huge. A small thing, but when you think about how often you're doing it, it makes a big difference over time.
Wow.
I thought you were going to say something, Ben.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I think you like we talked about, just taking away like the monotonous tasks, like you said, like taking your keys out of your pocket, plugging your phone in, like that thing you just had. That was a hands-free charger, right? That you just had,
exactly.
like,
Yeah,
you
by
put it
the
on
way,
there
you
and it
need to
charges
have
your
wireless
phone.
charging
Right.
available to you. Newer phones do, but it's huge. It's huge. And again,
Right.
I don't know. Maybe a lot of people are doing it. They go, "Oh, yeah, that." But when I
I don't
found it, it
know.
was such a game changer for me that thought I'd share it with others.
Have you always thought in this way, Bob? As you seem very innovative, you're very much so a problem solver, and you've brought some tips to the table already that I have never heard before. Have you always done that?
Well, as a marketer, I was the head of strategy, so my mindset is to sort of look at something holistically and trying to figure out the best way, whether it's to get a customer interested in the product or whether it's to solve a problem. So it does sort of come naturally, I guess. It
Mm-hmm.
is the way I think. Very analytical. Sometimes drives people crazy, but but for me, it's I look at how can I make putting my phone in more easy. How can I get customers to pay more attention and want to tip me more? So it is all that, and so I do, and I enjoy that part of it as well. So it's had the benefit of something that I enjoy doing. That's also obviously been profitable for me on many levels.
Yeah, and I really like the tip you brought about the language. Count that up. But one tip I want to ask you about, because you said you took a $1,500 order. I'm sure you've taken more large orders. Do you have any tips for those large orders? Like, was there anything special you do? Do you have a cart? What kind of things do you do to get those in those buildings?
That's just funny you say that. Everybody has their own kind of favorite cart. This one is
a flat one.
A lot of people have baskets, and to me that seems limiting because you can't extend.
I've always got all the
this
props
is one
ready
that's
to go.
cool because it's flat. But what it does, I don't know if you can see, it actually opens up. So you've got
more space
here, and I've got two of these. Excuse me, and then this of course goes up, but it folds flat, and I can, with bungees, I can take a lot of food, and I have two of those, and I can actually put them side by side, and I've taken like 12 boxes at once.
Wow.
So yeah, and again, if you're doing this and you're doing this for real, that's that's the kind of thing you need to do the job well.
And that's what you kind of said something there that kind of hit home for me is like, are you doing this for real? And it's like, if you want to be someone like Bob or like Mignon or like Charles or these people who we're talking to on the podcast who are really taking this gig work a lot more serious than maybe some other individuals do, these are things that it's going to be an investment on your end. But like Bob said, if you take 2 deliveries on our platform specifically, maybe others, everything's paid for, within an hour of your time. So it's like the return on your investment is almost immediate by only taking 1 or 2 deliveries. So it's almost like a break even is very, very simple to find.
Yeah.
I do want to, since we're kind of going on the realms of like ways to deliver that can help out the drivers moving forward, are there other things you see on your end, Bob, that you think, systems we could be updating or like you mentioned, like getting more delivery info and special delivery instructions? Are there more things that you think we could be doing better?
And again, prefacing by saying you guys do a great job, and there are limitations. But in terms of things that I would that might make the job easier, a lot of times you go to contact customer and the number is going to either you or Easycater.
Right.
And if you haven't, again, I try to call when I'm leaving. But if you're making that call as you're pulling up, now it's another 10 minutes to, and you guys are busy. I can't believe you've got 20 dispatchers covering 100 different cities.
Not even.
Yeah, it might be a little less for the employees and higher for the cities.
I get that, but again, I don't know why a decision is made sometimes to provide the customer's order or not. So having that,
I ask the same question sometimes, to be honest.
Okay. So that would be one. I do find that a lot of times, from what the customers are saying, that information that they claim they're putting into their order,
right,
whether it's Easycater or direct, is not being communicated to the app. So it might be a suite number, it might be parking directions, door code, and many times I've called and they said, "Oh, I put that in there." Okay, so and again, I don't know where that's falling short but again, something.
Awesome. All right, Bob. Well, I'm good to wrap it up, man. We've been chatting here we're going on an hour here, man. So I appreciate.
Has it really been? Oh my God.
Yeah. We're breezing through it.
Cody's time off? Are you gonna have to
Cody will get on when he gets on.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
We see that kid every day. We don't need to see him more. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on. Obviously, we're dealing with a time change here with going from Eastern to Pacific, Ohio to California. So thank you for joining us early in your day and a little towards the afternoon on our end. And I'm sure we'll be talking to you later on if you have deliveries today and over the weekend. And we appreciate everything you're doing for us, man.
Thank you.
Doing for yourself.
It was a real pleasure, and thank you again for the opportunity to be able to come on and sort of share my thoughts.
Awesome. Absolutely, we'd love to hear them.
Thanks so much, man. And we'll see you soon.
Wow, Ben, that was honestly one of my favorite interviews I think we've had yet. The way that he integrated his previous experience in other jobs in to deliver that, and also how he was so prepared with all his equipment and brought tips to the drivers and people listening that they honestly probably have never heard before, or at least I haven't, I should at least say.
I think, for me, there are a ton of things to touch on with Bob. I mean, we spoke personally, me and him, off camera on Wednesday to do like our podcast check-in to make sure the connection's good and everything. And I knew from the jump it was going to be a great conversation, right? Obviously, he's got the talk show background, maybe not being on camera, but he understands like the workflow of a conversation, how to set it up, how to speak about topics, and how to give like tangible advice and bring, actionable things to a conversation that people can actually utilize. So understanding that form of the conversation, I think, made it way easier to like kind of just have the actual conversation with him between the three of us. But from there, I mean, speaking to someone like that who's been on the platform, like we talked about, from October to December, the first 3 months of his tenure, took almost 250 deliveries, which
is crazy.
In 90 days, I don't know, that works out to almost 3 a day, basically.
Yeah.
Like just
70,
just under 3 a day. Yeah, quick math, thank you. But yeah, so I mean, and 3 a day, I mean, on our platform, that's basically $75 a day. Quick math, I don't know. I'm not going to even try to do that math, but we usually try to go for people making at least like $100 a day on our platform. So someone who's basically almost getting to that mark, or maybe even eclipsing it on most days, especially on the deliveries he's taking with Takaya, who have those nice pre-tips, or even situations we talked about where he's, you know, using those actions, we'll call them, to get those tips added on, you know, reaching out to the customer beforehand, asking if they need anything else.
Great advice.
Asking if they have parking, asking if they have better instructions, you know, making sure he facilitates the delivery in a way that makes the customer feel catered to, you know, not to use a good verb for our business specifically, but to make them feel catered to, and to make his customer service go above and beyond. So it's just, I mean, we obviously we're talking to like the cream of the crop of our drivers, the people we're having on. So it's not outlandish to say that he's like one of the best drivers we have, but I think that goes without being said with Bob. I think he made it very clear that he is committed and invested in doing what he does every day.
Yeah, and I was so happy just to hear too the feedback that he had for us, the things that we need to change, because it brought a perspective of like having the contact information isn't about just finding the customer at the drop off. It's about creating an experience for them that's you know, very positive. So I thought that was great. But I'm really excited to announce this next segment we got going on, because we got one of one of a kind on the podcast here to meet the team.
These keep getting better and better on mine. I like that we're getting into like
better than me.
Yeah, 100% better than you, without a doubt, not even a question.
Can you believe that?
But we're getting into like the nitty gritty of like the employees now. Now we're like out of we're past like the first lap of our employees, so now we're getting into like the deeper realm of employees who have been here. Maybe I think Kody. Well, I just gave it away, but our next employee, Kody, he's been with the company now, I think 2 years, maybe going on 3 years at this point. So yeah, I mean, let's just bring him on. We got Meet the Team segment. Kody Staskey, thanks for joining us today, buddy.
Yeah. What's going on, boys? Thank you for having me.
Decked out in the DT gear.
Yeah.
Love the rep.
Came prepared.
Absolutely. Yeah. They when you put me on the calendar to show up today, I figured I'd have to have, you know, something blue on.
I'm not gonna lie. I came around the corner earlier and you were walking towards me. I thought I saw like the lowercase D on your sweatpants. I thought you got Deliver That branded blue sweatpants for a second.
I wish. I really wish. And I hope that Jim sees this one too, because that's something we're definitely going to
joggers, some DT joggers.
We could use some joggers, some sweatpants, even some shorts, honestly, for everybody out west shorts, or down south where it's a little warmer.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, we're helping people with the top, not the bottom. Deliver That socks. People love collecting socks.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Whatever we can do, whatever we can throw our brand on, honestly, to get it out there and get it in the eyes of the public, I think it's only going to benefit.
That's without a doubt. Without a doubt. Agree with that 100%. But let's get this conversation going a little bit. And we like to start with everyone here on the Meet the Team segment and kind of get a backstory of where you were before Deliver That, then get into your beginnings with Deliver That, and then what's been happening since then. And you have I won't call it strange, because it's not strange. It's very common. But we're going to dive back. It's 2022 now, so this is a decade ago. A decade ago.
Oh yeah.
It's 2012. You just graduated from Glen Oak. Yeah, did you know I was going to bring this up?
No.
You just graduated from Glen Oak High School, and it's June, maybe a month or two after graduation, and we're in Myrtle Beach.
When you say "were,"
well, so this is what we're going to get into. So pre-Deliver That. I don't know if this is why I wanted to ask. I don't know if you were aware at the time, but I was not aware at the time that we actually, Kody and I, and then maybe Jim and Darian, crossed paths on senior trip in Myrtle Beach 2012. Wow. We stayed in the same, it was called the Catalina.
The Catalina, legendary place if you go to Myrtle Beach, by the way.
Oh, wow. Now they know all about you.
So we all stayed in the same like facility. And I'm sure, I don't know if I think you told D upon the interview process that you remembered meeting him there. But because, I mean, he sticks out like a sore thumb. He's 6'4", 320 pounds. He's a massive, college lineman. So pretty easy to remember that guy. But I definitely didn't remember meeting you there. I'm sure we shared a few beers, had a good time. But do you remember those times? Do you remember seeing Darian down there or anyone from the company?
Yeah, of course. I mean, first off, shout out to Glen Oak and Jackson High School, 2 great places here in Canton, Ohio.
Threw Jackson in there.
But to touch on senior trip in the least, I mean, I'm almost lost for words. Like Ben alluded to, it's been about a decade now, and man, there were some good times, a lot of good times that we remember, and then some that, unfortunately we just do not. But
you may not, yeah.
Absolutely. No, it was a great time. And, and I don't think we all formally knew each other before senior trip there. But, I mean, playing football against you guys growing up through high school.
We should have referenced that as well.
No, that was always a good time, being competitive on the field. And then look at us 10 years later. I mean, we're competitive in the office, still having fun and going after it. So.
Yeah, it's just why it's wild. I just wanted to bring that up solely to point out things that happen where people are in your lives and then you reintroduce yourselves to them later on, and then you have I don't think we knew about that until we were in the office one day and we were like, yo, you remember senior trip at Myrtle Beach? And Kody was like,
yeah,
wait, I was down there. And then you get down this rabbit hole of a conversation and then you're like, oh shit, we were literally in the same place, literally 2 doors down from each other, probably we're at the same parties every night. So that kind of stuff, those connections to me are just very wild to even bring up in conversation.
But you're smart not to go into detail about what happened on that trip.
Yeah, we're obviously not going to go too far.
Yeah, that's one thing we can't do. But like Ben said, I mean, the fun that we had down there, whether it was throwing the football on the beach, chasing after the girls down there. I mean, it was
interviewing for jobs.
It was definitely a blast.
Taking care of the elderly.
Definitely wasn't thinking about the future. That's for sure.
I just wanted to touch on that very briefly there. But so we're going to flash forward then. So about 2012 is when that happened. We're going about 7 years forward, I believe. We're all back in Canton, Ohio, obviously. Tristan's with the company. I'm with the company. At the time, I believe you're selling insurance. You can correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yeah, I worked for a marketing agency, more or less.
Right.
And what my position was to do is actually to market for a insurance brand. So I did that for about 2 or 3 years, again, with another buddy that we're all pretty close with as well from high school.
Right.
So that was a good time. But it now that I look back on it, I'm definitely thankful for everything I learned there and how it's been able to help me in my new role here at Deliver That.
Yeah, and then I just wanted to get into kind of how you got introduced to Deliver That. Because a lot of the previous people we've talked to, they're friends from high school, little brothers of friends like Tristan, or family friends, things of that nature. You were kind of one of the original employees who was outside of the initial bubble of the Jackson High School.
Who's still here?
Yeah, right. Who's still here, but you're still Canton, Ohio native. So how did you hear about Deliver That? Do you remember? Was it a job posting? Was it a someone in your ear hey, this company is up and coming, or what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually was working with another gentleman by the name of Briar at my previous job before here. And we were actually doing the same thing more or less there. And when our job started to slow down, both of us were kind of looking for newer opportunities out there. So I know that Briar actually knows John Zeno, one of the co-founders here of Deliver That, was playing basketball with him on the side, all that good stuff. But that's kind of how this opportunity got put into my ear. Briar and I developed a pretty good relationship at our previous job, and he heard about this opening here, interviewed for it, and decided it really wasn't good for him, or it just wasn't his niche for whatever reason. So he had reached out to me. Once I had done a little bit of research, I obviously saw Darian, Jim, and a couple other people. So I wanted to hop at the opportunity. So that's kind of how I heard about this, and the rest is history.
And I remember those days, Kody, when after you got hired and trained, it was just me and you in the office, 6:30 in the morning for
first ones.
I mean, what, for almost a year, right?
Yeah, we drank a whole pot of coffee before anybody else
got here. Just me and you, just a pot of coffee. We weren't we were still busy those days, but we weren't as busy as we were. So me and you, we had a good time in those mornings. 6:30 on the dot every day.
Absolutely.
They never make any more.
Yeah, I was about to say that's just not happening.
Nope, not anymore.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
No.
But talking about that, when you originally started So you're originally brought on for a sales role, and then we needed help in dispatch. It was one of the most important parts of the company, and also was a place where we needed assistance at. So you kind of got thrown into that role for a long time before you kind of really transitioned into majority-wise business development role.
Right.
And you still do some logistics, obviously, quite a bit, honestly, with how busy we've been. But what was that like, and how did you feel about that transition and taking on that extra role during that time?
Yeah, so when I was actually going through the whole interview process, my final interview was actually with Darian, who's now the CEO here at Deliver That. And when I was going through that with him, he kind of told me, like, hey, this is where we want you to be in, a sales type role with, leading the accounts, overseeing the accounts, our partners, all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he also made me aware that everybody that starts here at Deliver That has to start on the logistics end of the business and go through dispatching to really learn the ins and outs, right? To really see what a day can be like for a driver, learn their pain points, learn how to talk to them, etc. So wearing multiple hats inside the company has definitely been a challenge, but at the end of the day, I think it has ultimately made me a better person, a better coworker, and etc. So at the end of the day, I'm happy that it was put on my plate. I did my best with it, and hopefully, everybody can see that.
Absolutely. And do you actually, I'm curious then, do you agree with that perspective that Darian gave you, that starting there in the logistics was probably, do you think it was a cornerstone, a foundation for you to succeed at this company? Do you think that was true?
100%, 100%. Yeah, I think that really helped me learn the ins and outs. And, like I just said, what a day of a driver can really look like, learn their pain points, see where they're coming from, kind of put yourself in their shoes. I know another thing here at Deliver That we do when we're onboarded to be an employee here is actually take a delivery ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Once again, and I know you guys have done it as well, right? Maybe you have a delay at a restaurant, or maybe you can't find parking at the drop-off location, whatever that may be. But it just ultimately, at the end of the day, helps you understand what the driver can and possibly is going through, as well as how to handle that.
Yeah. But before we go to this next question, me and him were just talking about before the podcast. If anybody knows that, right, it's got to be Kody. Remember when he would drive up to Macedonia all the time to deliver for Chick-fil-A because we couldn't find a driver? Maybe that was a stretch and probably not something we would do today. But you're so invested in your account and getting it done that you drove, 45 minutes?
Yeah, it's something like that.
It's a trek up 77, to Macedonia. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But good old Ric Flair up there, Rick, he really appreciated
Rick-fil-A.
Yeah. Rick-fil-A, that's what we
Absolutely. Right. No, we love you, Rick. Shout out to you, too.
Yeah, shout out, Rick. But I also wanted to touch on, too, within the dispatch department, because I specifically struggled with this, throughout my tenure within dispatch. And Kody is someone who I think a lot of people have harped on, which is, he's someone who you can really look to, who handles conversations very well. And, if a driver calls in very upset or a partner calls very upset, Kody is, the one rock of a person who he can get beaten and battered in a conversation, and you'll see him standing over there, and his tone doesn't change, his demeanor doesn't change, everything he goes through the same thought processes, the same ways to facilitate the issue, handle the problem, and get them the best solution. So I think I just want to give you major props for that, because personally I've always struggled with that, getting very frustrated with drivers, not understanding why this is such a huge problem on their end. And then they call in, get so upset, and then it's very easy to reciprocate that energy and in turn get upset with them. Yeah. But he's someone who's always been very, very still, very peaceful on the phone, a very calming voice, I feel to talk to. So just props to you on that, man.
No, I really appreciate that. It truly does mean a lot coming from my peers, the people that I'm more or less going to war with every day. So thank you for that. And I gotta give a huge thank you to Darian. That the open door policy that he carries here at Deliver That, whether it's a question or you just need a tip or you want to pick his brain on how to be better at something or how to word something in a more professional manner, he's given me the blueprint, opened up his brain and dumped knowledge on me in every way I can be thankful for. So thank you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And also, I want to mention is you're not afraid to give the partners or even the drivers the truth. If somebody messes up or somebody does a great job, even, you're going to bluntly tell them, this is what you did. This does not look good. And then on the other end, when it comes to your accounts, you got to clean up the mess.
Right.
And it's not easy to do. And I got major respect for that, because I 100% telling you, I know for a fact I could not do that. That's just not my personality.
Absolutely. No, it can definitely be struggling sometimes. And sometimes, I think the majority of the time it's really just being able to swallow your pride and say, hey, we messed up. We're going to own it 100%. How can we make it right? But in those conversations, I always try to take a breath and think back, and it's what comes to my mind is it's not exactly always what you say, but how you say it, right? How are you going to deliver this message? What is your demeanor and what is your tone going to be like so that when the person that you're speaking to receives your message, you want them to take that in a positive way.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That is a great point. That is a very good point. And I do just want to kind of continue down the business development role. So like we said, you kind of came in, got thrown into more of a dispatch role for a pretty heavy amount of time, probably longer than anticipated, I would imagine, for yourself and maybe even people within the company. But then obviously, things loosen up. We maybe brought on more people and you kind of got more into that actual business development role. So now you're reaching out to prospective partners, you're handling actual live partners. You got Zoe's, Takaya, Earl Enterprises, the list goes on and on and on, especially with these new partners you're still facilitating business with. But initially you're doing a lot of prospecting. So, we're going on websites, we're seeing, I don't know what you were searching at the time. Maybe you want to give the people tips and tricks for prospecting, but you're looking at top 50 businesses, seeing who does the most catering. You're reaching out to those businesses. And then from there, as COVID kind of hit and people needed a delivery service, and so it kind of flipped the game on its head. So now it wasn't like, hey, we need business. It was more like people need a delivery service. So it was kind of more now people are reaching out to us. So it kind of took away the function of you having to prospect and get that business a little less organic. Well, it was less organic in the beginning. Now it became organic because people were now reaching out to us. Mm-hmm. So I guess for starters, what was prospecting like for you in the beginning? And do you miss that function of the job outlook now? I think as of late, we're actually going to start getting into more prospecting. I believe we've had recent conversations about that. But as of the past year or so, it's been kind of on the back burner. So is that something you missed?
Yeah, so the prospecting, the outreach, the cold calling, the scouring the internet, LinkedIn, different social media platforms out there. That is definitely something that I miss and something I still do to this day, just not to the capacity that I was. Mm-hmm. But Ben, I think that you hit it right on the head, man. Before we were in a position where it was, hey, let's try to formulate as much business as we can. COVID hit. We started to gain business almost as silly as it sounds, right? A lot of people were shutting down and going out of work, and it just seemed like our work was increasing. So
right.
We had to adapt. We had to adapt like we do all the time here in this industry. It hardly ever stays the same for a certain amount of time. So being able to more or less put the ball in our court and say, hey, instead of us going out there and looking for all these potential partners, these partners are now coming to us, mm-hmm. right? They needed us. So it was nice to know that, hey, number one, our service works. Number two, our people are happy with our service. And what we were finding is these people were reaching out to their friends in the industry who as well were experiencing troubles with getting drivers, having delivery drivers to deliver their meals, etc. And a lot of referrals were just coming our way. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that we have a heck of a team, an all-star team here to facilitate, and help out these people and these restaurants, these brands whenever they need us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was pretty cut and
sums it up.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty cut and dry. Yeah, that was a great response. Great response. I don't know if T, do you have anything? I have a closing question that's kind of off the books here, but do you have anything we want to talk about Deliver That related before?
No, hit it.
No? Yep. All right. Well, so this is a little off the books. This wasn't in the outline, but I just kind of thought of it as the conversation started. I want to highlight a little bit because we talk about everyone, within Deliver That, but we kind of like to get into their personal lives a little bit so people get a better feeling of like who they are outside of work as well. So as of, I'm going to butcher like the dates here, but the past few months, I'll say, to give myself a baseline, you popped the question.
You popped the question. The most nervous I've ever been in my life was, I'll say that.
So you're planning a wedding currently, I believe for the end of this year, maybe
Yep. Yeah.
No,
November 6th.
Oh, I didn't get the invite yet.
Yeah, you're not.
They're still coming.
Oh,
No,
they're still coming.
He's not coming. But no, I wanted to maybe get down. We don't have to get like deep into your family situation or anything like that, but being back in a position where you have a career that you can afford to, propose, put yourself in a position where you recently moved into a new house as well. You're providing for a daughter and
you got a dog
and Grace, you have a dog. So like all these things, you're in a comfortable position with a great company who can afford you these things now. Is there anything you want to touch on with that we can just, kind of back and forth about?
No, man, I'm thankful. I'm truly thankful. Like Ben was alluding to, I do have a fiance. We got engaged in January of 2022. We have a daughter. She actually just turned 11 this past week. So shout out to Grace, dog as well. But no, I really think, working here, not to get too sappy, but it's made me a better person, better worker, boyfriend, father, all that good stuff. And I know I say it all the time. We have something called the winners meeting. Have you guys ever talked about the winners meeting out here before?
Yeah, I think I've referenced it a few times. I think we talked about it on Christians Meet the Team maybe. So people might not be too familiar with it, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, our winners meeting is kind of where we try to get our leadership team here together once a week, and we read a book, kind of recap it, say how we all feel, etc. But the way that everybody opens up in there, it allows for everybody to learn a little bit more about each person in that room every week. We open up, everybody kind of lets their guards down a little bit. But I think that can kind of attribute a lot to this as well, to really putting into perspective, why I wake up and come to work every day, why I do the things in my life that I do every day. And I guess the easy answer to that is it always resorts back to my family.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very it brings authenticity to your life. Like it's not a robotic thing where you come to work, you have a purpose in your job, you have a purpose in your life, and everything bleeds into one another. And I think that's I think that meeting, like you said, is one of the greatest ways to put that into perspective.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, we can end on that note. I did just want to say, not to get too sappy again, but I think, when you grow up, you have friends in high school, you have friends in college, and then you kind of get your career or your job, and you have like work friends, that you like talk to at work every day and like you hang out with at work. But personally, Kody has become someone, I'm texting him on the weekends. We're hanging out on the weekends.
Really? Wow.
Obviously not including you. We bond over the UFC, a lot of football, a lot of sports gambling, bet responsibly. So I just want to say, I appreciate you outside of work as well. You've become someone I can lean on, with personal things that are going on in my life, business, work, and, familial issues. So I just really appreciate having you and being able to have created this relationship, not only within this workspace, but also now outside of it. So thank you for that.
No, and I reciprocate that, man. Thank you guys as well, man. And it's kind of funny as I sit down and I try to work out my wedding list, man, and it's like I need my family here, right? I need my DT family here with me to celebrate. So can't wait to do that with you guys as well, and I'm very appreciative of your friendships.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you so much for joining us. We do got to close out. I don't know if you watch the podcast at all, but we got to close it out, and I usually like the guests to do it. So I'll instruct you on how to do it, but then you got to do it yourself. So you just got to give me a point to the screen. Let the people know ideliverthat.com/podcast. They can submit their questions. They can submit to be a guest, and they can even submit to be onboarded as a driver on the platform. So let them know ideliverthat.com/podcast. And what can they do with the link?
You guys got the link right here at the bottom of the screen. It's ideliverthat.com/podcast. Like, subscribe, and share if I got that one correctly.
Yeah, like, subscribe, share it.
Where you guys can share it. You can request to be on the podcast. You can apply to be a driver. Tell everybody, share it, and we're happy to keep doing this for you guys.
All right.
Thanks for coming on.
Another one in the books. Thanks, Kody.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.